Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Barbara, could you call the roll?
We have Commissioner Sales, Holloman, Moss, Noonan, and Parfait present.
Good. All present and accounted for. This proceeding will be, as you know, on Channel 35. Let's start with our report from the General Manager. Mr. Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. There's a couple of items I would like to address. One this morning being just a note that last week, some of you may have seen, some of the audience may have seen, that there was an announcement by University of California, Los Angeles, yes, that is UCLA, deepest apologies to some of our board members, of a new tool that has been prepared with appropriately screened information from the department that provides an online tool. I'll give a link reference to it in just a moment, that allows a neighborhood by neighborhood comparison of residential energy use. And that is an important tool because knowledge of how an individual residential customer uses energy and how that compares to their neighbors actually has been shown to be a pretty impressive influencer of increasing awareness of energy use and wise energy use just in and of itself. UCLA prepared a tool that provides an overlay of energy use by very relatively small subregions within the city limits. They provide that in a manner that does not disclose individual customer information, so that customer information is safeguarded, but it's provided in a level that allows pretty meaningful comparison for individuals. And that, of course, that energy use can be influenced by weather, temperature principally, by home size, as well as demographics. But it's a tool that we can use as the utility as we work to try to focus in further on our future energy efficiency programs to help determine how best we can get the best output by investment as well on our energy efficiency programs. Our desire is to try to take this to another step and apply it similarly for water conservation and water use as we move forward. So for those who are interested in that, you can find this online at sustainablecommunities.environment.ucla.edu, and then /map room, and you go into that and you get into an index that allows you to bring that up. There are some limits in the tools in terms of the search engines that you have with respect to that make it faster in some cases, but it's a tool that I think will be very useful to our customers and to the utility itself. If there are any questions at all on
questions
that.
or comments?
Okay. I would like at this time another item I'd like to bring up Gail Harris, and then we have Jane Listowski, who's the Regional Vice President of the American Cancer Society. We have for many years been sponsoring a fundraising here for the American Cancer Society as part of the Daffodil Days campaign. And I think with that, Gail, if you want to give a brief intro on this.
Sure. For the last 10 years or so, the department has been participating in this, and we're proud to say that we've raised over $500,000 on behalf of the American Cancer Society, and it's because we have such generous employees who look forward to supporting this every year. Unfortunately, this is the last year.
Gail, can you speak in the microphone?
Right here?
Or the one on the podium? Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
This is the last year for the Daffodil Days campaign. Perhaps Jane will tell us what will take its place. But on behalf of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, I'd like to present this check for $103,884 for funds raised this year. Jane? Maybe a couple of the coordinators can join us.
I think it would be great to get it.
Sure. Did you want to say something first?
But Jane,
want to say? Would you like to?
I'd like to say something. Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Gail for her leadership and all of everyone who worked on her team, who put their heart and soul into this campaign. As you can see, it's very impressive that they raised over $103,000 for the American Cancer Society, and I want to express my appreciation for all of that work, because you helped to fund cancer research, the financiers. We funded 46 Nobel laureates as a result of our premium research program. We take that research and put it into practice every day to save lives through the prevention and education and prevention. And we also provide, right here in Los Angeles, patient services for cancer patients and their families to improve their quality of life. And I always like to close by letting you all know that we are available to every home in America through our 800 number and our cancer.org website, which is a very robust program. And I really encourage all of you, if you haven't visited our website, to look at it and make sure that you're referring anyone you know who has questions to either our 800 number or our website. So thank you very much for your support.
May I ask a couple of the coordinators to come up and join us for the shot?
So I'd actually like to thank all of our employees for their generosity. There probably is no better cause, no more important cause than preventing cancer. I also would like to thank the American Cancer Association for the wonderful work they do in this region. So with that, why don't we take a picture? How are you? Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. James, meet you.
Oh, no, thank you for your wonderful work.
Awesome employees.
Joe, come on over.
Roll right here. Just fine. You're good. You can stay right there. I can get right here. Right here. You got it. No, come back. Please, no. Come back. Create a second row right there.
Second row right there.
Yeah.
Please on. Let me stand next to it.
Giovanni, you are joining us?
You don't want to be seen with us, Giovanni?
Just one second.
He's a wide angle. Okay.
I'm not going to be much bigger than daffodils.
They last forever.
Okay.
Amazing.
All right. Gail, on your side? Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, that's good. All right, very good. Here we go. Don't leave after the first shot. Okay, here we go. Here's the first one. Big smile. See how we're looking here. Very good. Here we go again. Big smile. That's good right there. Okay, let's do that again. Good smile, everyone. A couple more shots.
Just in case yellow didn't work.
All right. Drop your side down just a little. That's good, right? A little bit more. That's good, right there. Here we go. Good smile. And one more time. Excellent. Big smile. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good. That concludes your report?
It does.
Comments, requests from commissioners? We have one card for public comment. Want to call the speaker?
Speaker is Tony Wilkinson.
Welcome.
Thank you. Tony Wilkinson, Neighborhood Council, Department of Water and Power, Memorandum of Understanding Oversight Committee. Maybe a little late, but I would like to chime in after last board's announcement of the concrete plan of the department to eliminate coal-fired power. I'd like to really congratulate this board for its leadership and the DWP management for its skill and proactive insight into coming up with a way to actually do this efficiently. I have two thoughts as we go through this. One is that there are some details that perhaps are important. It would seem to me we should have no new coal-fired power agreements, but as we eliminate one early, it might be prudent to allow for some purchase of coal-fired power no longer than we already would have purchased it, just in case we need it, at a higher rate, but lower than renewables. That would be in the ratepayers' interest if that were there. And the second thing is base load. As I look at the elimination of a huge amount of capacity in the plans for Intermountain, and of course the elimination of a large amount from Navajo also, I'm concerned that we may not get, let's not get ourselves in a situation on baseload power where we, like in the water for Colorado River, where all of a sudden Arizona decides to take its full share and then we have none left. And so in a reliability standpoint, not necessarily cost, I'm really concerned that we make adequate plans for baseload power going forward. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the last card for fourth.
I'd like a motion to approve items 7.
Mr. President, we'd like to go into closed session.
Sorry, we're gonna adjourn the closed session just for about 10 minutes.
Be short, and it's under item 21B1.
Okay. We should go back.
recording.
Oh, it's right here. I'd like a motion to defer item 18 to our next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. I'd like a motion to approve items 7 and 8 from the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I think Commissioner Moss has questions on item 5. Do you want a presentation, or do you just
I don't need a presentation, just someone to talk to about it.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Bassam Abu Shakra, Power System Engineering.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to just turn real quick because I didn't understand something. Can you explain to me in the recap evaluation sheet, what's part of our board packet? It seems that the executive suite, which was deemed the lower bidder of the two, actually for the first year, wait a minute, for the first year was, in fact, well, it was the lower bidder. You're right, 370. But then I don't understand the option years. Why the option years, the other bidder was so much more than executive in the option years? Difference of $700,000?
It's a mistake. They did a mistake in their input.
Who did a mistake?
The bidder. And I believe it has happened in the past. I don't know if anybody here. They inputted in ERSP wrong. And this is not the first time that we've seen it. I know, Commissioner, you had a question before the same where somebody inputted just wrong.
I see. So is it fair then to say that do we know for a fact that executive, which was also disqualified from the bid, but we went to them to negotiate the contract because they were supposedly the lowest bidder, but how do we know that International Environmental wasn't the lowest bidder?
Okay. International failed the GFE. They scored 0. So the good faith effort, they scored 0. So we went to executive. What they did is, because this is a rebid, they submitted the bid bond on 344R1. They submitted the bid bond on 344. So that's why we went back to them to make sure that they corrected it. So that's the only thing that was not correct in their bid, is the bid bond.
Okay. This one, just because this was a second bid on this job anyways,
Yes.
you know, I'm just very concerned about how our contracting procedures go, because it seems that there are so many potential missteps on the part of bidders that I don't know that ultimately the department and the ratepayers are being well served by getting truly competitive bids. Because if I were a bidder and if I paid any attention to what was going on in DWP, I wouldn't take the time to bid because I would think that the whole system's messed up. I mean, if it's that easy to input the wrong information.
Well, I'd like to answer that. On this one, we had a pre-bid conference, and we provided training on ERSP, on answering any questions, and also during the bidding period, there's a question and answer period. So anybody has question, they can, to the spec on even ERSP. So we're providing a lot of support to the bidders if they have any questions.
And I don't doubt that, and I know that you're probably going with I'm certain that you're going with good faith to try and get the best bids possible for the department, but there is obviously a problem here because too many times we're getting these board letters that describe just a horrendous situation with the bids, and I can't believe that all of our vendors are that incompetent that they're tripping up time and time again, especially knowing how much time and energy has to go into putting the bids in the first place. There's just something not right here, just on an intuitive basis. And, and I don't expect an answer today. I just want to throw that out yet again, and maybe there's something that we can do to review the procedures or simplify the procedures, but it's just too many bid packages are coming in, and too many board letters are detailing a litany of problems with bidders. And I once again felt like I have to point this out.
I believe we had requested a presentation on this matter a while ago, and you know, I share Commissioner Moss's concern, and I do think it's very pressing to have a presentation on the bidding process. I realize that there was some consideration about changes that may be made to the bidding process, but I agree. I have a very difficult time approving these items when I see 1 to 2 bids come in time and again on multi-million-dollar contracts. It's just very difficult to believe that that's the audience that will respond to RFPs.
Quinn Williams from Supply Chain Services. It's a concern of mine too. I mean, I read them and I ask a lot of questions when I see that they don't. We're working, I'm having weekly meetings on ERSP. We're working to look at a methodology that might be easier for the bidders to utilize. For instance, we're thinking about a checklist where rather than them having to upload the documents, similar to when you're charging something sometimes on the internet, there's just a box that you check that says, I agree to all of these terms and conditions. So we're looking into trying to have something as simple as if they check all of the boxes that they have all of these documents, if we would want to go and take a look at them. So we're looking at that. The other thing that we're looking at is next month we're going to have an ERSP kind of advisory council with the bidders. We've brought them in on numerous occasions to try and talk to them about, what difficulties that they're having with it, because, it is of concern to me when I see that they haven't submitted the contributions form. They come to the pre-proposal meetings, the pre-bid meetings, we talk to them about it, but they still continue to do this. So it bothers me too, and we're happy to make a presentation, but we are struggling to try and address it. I think the problem is we're one of the few organizations in the state probably that has an online bidding process. Most people still require that they submit hard copy bids, and so I think it's just a matter of them getting used to it. They've been doing it for 2 or 3 years now, I guess, but a lot of these bidders, they're not repeatedly doing it. They're just coming in once every 3 or 4 years and trying to figure out how to use it. But we're trying to make it as user-friendly as we can, but happy to come back to it.
Well, I'm wondering maybe we should set up a dummy specification for the Board of Commissioners to bid on and see how we do.
Yes, no,
I'm serious.
No, I am serious. I mean, I've said that I was...
That would be a specification for dummy.
No, but that's what I did one time to see how difficult it was.
Yeah.
Was I went on as an anonymous bidder and tried to see if I could play with it, and that's when we started working on it. Not very well.
There we go.
Not very well.
But Commissioner, last week Ms. Williams was saying about changing how we submit. We had representatives from the power system, from business support division and water system act as bidders, try to submit bids to check how we're going to do when we change ERSP from doing what we're doing now versus a checklist. So we go through that process internally where our originators and contract administrators act as bidders to make sure that it's going to work when we actually start doing it.
Yeah, actually,
so I want to cut this off if I can. Why don't we come back with a presentation on what we're doing to improve the bidders process, and if Commissioner Moss wants to go through a mock process, give it to him. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
And then if the other commissioners would like to go through that, I think more power to them. And maybe Commissioner Noonan would also. Whoever's interested can do that.
Okay.
Just
But the contract is for you to take us to dinner, though.
Anything for a free meal, right, Moss? Okay.
That's right. All right.
Well,
I'd like to.
Reasonable? Is that a reasonable?
Yeah, that's fine.
Commissioner Noonan has another point.
Yeah, I just have one question. Even though I understand that the bids are done online, if a bidder has questions, can they contact a live person?
Yes. Mm-hmm. The vendor, they can call. They're told that they can call the vendor liaison center. Sometimes, when they're presenting these bids, they're doing a lot of the changing at the last time. So, we've had instances where they call, like 20 minutes before the bid is due, and they're trying to get assistance. We suggest to them that they can go online at any time and start uploading their documents, a little bit at a time, so that they're not rushed at the last minute. But
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
but
Well,
our
I'd like
vendor
to make a motion to approve this item.
Is there a second?
There is.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Commissioner Moss also has questions on item 9.
Yeah, this one, oh, hello. This one's real easy. And if I'm reading this correctly, it's a timing issue, I believe. Wait a minute. You know what? I'm going to withdraw that. Let's skip that one.
Going to move the item?
I'll move that for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item 10.
What happened to item 6? Because earlier you had said 7 and 8 were supposed to have 6 as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve item 6?
So move.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item passes. Item 10. We can take, what, 10, 11, and 12 together?
Sure.
What's your name?
Shannon Pasquale, HR.
Susanna Reyes, Human Resources.
What you have before you is a recommendation to a couple of things. Item number 10 in particular is to adopt the annual health plans resolution that the board adopted. It puts forth some information in terms of when open enrollment will be for the next plan year. It updates specifically the premium subsidies, reflects changes in any of the new health and dental contracts, puts forth payroll deductions, so forth and so on. So that's just a routine resolution that we ask the board to approve every year before the new health plans go into effect on July 1st.
Questions from commissioners? Commissioner Moss?
And I don't know which plan it was, but I believe that there was a 31% increase in one of the retirement.
Yeah, I can
health
get to that on that if you want me to go right into that. Item 10 has nothing to do with the increase. That's actually 12.
Oh, okay. Well, that was my area of interest.
So you want me to go right into item 12?
Are there questions about 10 and 11?
I wanted to point out something about 11 before you guys take a vote on it.
Please do that.
Okay.
And answer Commissioner Moss.
Actually, on item 11, there was a typo on the first page of the resolution. It indicates an increase of $85.2 million. It should really be $91.2 million, and that's for the IBW plan in terms of the department's contribution towards that plan.
It's in the board letter.
It's in the board letter.
Not in the
It's
resolution.
not in the resolution, just the board letter.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go to item 12.
Not at 12, yes, sir.
Okay. So your question regarding UHC's increase of 31.7%?
For the retirees.
Right. If you recall, several years ago, back in 2011-12, we came to this board with a recommendation to consolidate the existing health plan for Blue Shield into UHC, and at the time, the department saved around $9 million in doing so. Okay. If you may recall, we had a discussion with you in particular about our concerns about UHC's numbers might be off and that they may have just made a huge mistake, but they were very confident at the time that their information was in fact correct. So we went forward with the consolidation and we ended up saving the $9 million. What you have today, some 2 years later, is UHC attempting to adjust an assumption that they had made. They're not trying to recoup the entire cost. In fact, had we stayed with Blue Shield and never went with the consolidation, we still would be paying more today had we not gone with consolidation. So what they're really trying to do is correct an underwriting error that they made. And so that's what we're seeing today.
And our retirees have enjoyed 2 years of greatly reduced premiums. And even if we didn't have UHC today, that number or that premium would still be lower had we had Blue Shield.
Other questions? Commissioner Moss?
No.
Move to approve the item.
Item 11, 10, 11, and 12?
All of them.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item 13.
Morning, Commissioners. Marvin Moon, Water and Power Engineering Power System. This is for the purchase of head-mounted switchgear, which is used in our distribution system for sectionalizing our circuits and protection for our equipment.
Questions? I guess the one question is there were relatively few bids on this, as I recall. You want to speak to that issue of why?
Yes. This is an SF6 gas insulated switchgear, and there's only 3 known manufacturers in the United States that make that at that voltage. And we get a bid from SNC Electric. We've been working with another manufacturer in Chicago, G&W Electric. We just bought a switchgear last year from them. We tested it. They got approved. So we're in the process of putting out a bid to buy a little bit different. So now we got 2 approved vendors. So there's just a very limited number of manufacturers in the United States.
Other questions on item 13?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 13 passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 14?
Item number 14 is a personal services contract to support us on all the renewables, the repowering, transmission, all those issues that we don't have the expertise to support those projects. So it is a task-based contract. So each task it will be issued. Progress reports will be made on the task, as far as the estimates, the milestones, the deliverables, and then we'll manage this contract task by task.
Questions on item 14? Is there a motion?
There is.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 14 passes. Item 15. Phil, I assume that's you?
Correct. Commissioners, we have for your consideration today approval of a final issuance a final issuance resolution with respect to power system bonds for $480 million. This would fund, in combination with the $650 million that have already been issued, about 57% of the financing needs for the current fiscal year. Our capital budget requires that we borrow a total of about $1.13 billion, and we've done that through 2 offerings. One that was conducted in October for $650 million, and this $480 million would round out our total needs. We would plan to issue tax-exempt bonds and also an allotment of qualified energy conservation bonds that we will be receiving from the city. There are 3 issuance resolutions in front of you, numbers 4861, 4862, and 4863, that do a number of things. They authorize a bond purchase contract with the underwriters. We have a preliminary official statement that will be used in connection with the sale of the bonds. And we have an underwriting team that was selected from the pool that we selected last year. The senior underwriters proposed for this transaction are Goldman Sachs, Barclays Capital, De La Rosa, and RBC Capital Markets. And we have a number of co-managers as well that will be supporting the transaction given the relatively large size, including BMO Capital Markets, Fidelity Capital Markets, JP Morgan Securities, Ramirez and Company, and the Williams Capital Group.
Questions on item 16?
I have a
Sorry, 15, excuse me. Commissioner Ross?
The selection of the senior managers, are these the same senior managers in the last bond issuance?
No. We have, in our pool of 18 total underwriters, 9 are designated to be seniors, and we have selected the seniors on each transaction based on a variety of factors, including the ideas they bring for us, their expertise in particular types of transactions, and also we've been mindful of trying to provide some overall coverage to ensure that all the firms who've put in get some piece of the business.
Okay.
Other questions on item 15? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 16.
This one is just the extension in the dollar amount for 2 contracts for support for CEQA and NEPA documentation. These contracts go back to 2011, and since then there have been a number of new renewable power and water system projects. We just need an extension of the dollar amount for these contracts to incorporate those projects as well. No change to the duration or the scope of the contracts.
Mr. Parford?
I'd just like to move to approve if there, I have no questions.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 16 passes. Item 17.
I've got Malad Tagavi here to answer any questions on item 17.
Good afternoon, President Sales and the Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here with you and talk about our specification number 7315. Here with me is Mr. Greg Reed. He's our acting manager for groundwater management remediation. He is overseeing the development of the specification that's in front of you for your consideration. Specification 7315 is for installation of the 32 monitoring wells in 3 basins, San Fernando, Sylmar, and Central Basins. The specification calls for installation of the 22 monitoring wells in San Fernando Basin, up to 5 in the Sylmar, and also up to 5 in Central Basin. The installation of these monitoring wells, along with the existing department wells and additional 9 that are being installed by the United States Army Corps of Engineers, on our behalf, will enable the department to characterize the water quality within San Fernando Basin, Central, and Sylmar, so we could develop a holistic approach in terms of addressing groundwater contamination in these basins for environmental benefits. The characterization is a critical step in our engaging Department of Public Health and the community in moving forward with addressing the groundwater contamination in the San Fernando Basin, Sylmar, and Manhattan as well. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Same question. There's only one bid, right?
Yes.
Why?
We did a market research. We contacted up to 20 bidders, some that we know of, some that we did through internet search, and some that we heard from the others. And Mr. Reed was in charge of that effort. We talked to them about what the project entailed, what was the scope of the projects, the timing, the equipment that were needed. Out of the 20, 6 indicated to us that they had the means and the experience and the equipment to do that activity. We were surprised when we received only 1 bidder, and so we contacted the bidders, all 20, and tried to find out what was the reason why they did not decide to participate in this particular process. And Mr. Reed could go into more detail into that research.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As Malad indicated, we had 6 potential bidders who seemed to be very interested and capable to perform the work. This was as a part of our pre-market research. And we also had 3 of those contractors provide contractors' estimates to help us with refining our engineering estimate, which indicated a high level of interest in the project. And we also had a pre-bid meeting where 7 firms attended the conference, also indicating a strong interest. And also, as Malad had mentioned, we contacted those companies after being surprised that we only received 1 bid to find out what the issues were. And so I'm going to review those with you right now. Of the responses that we received, 6 firms indicated that they felt the equipment that they have for the project was inadequate. They indicated that their drill rigs were too large. We're actually constructing these monitoring wells primarily in residential neighborhoods because we're in the East San Fernando Valley where a lot of the groundwater contamination exists. And in order to establish these wells, they need to be along certain flow paths that will allow us to find the targeted contaminants that we're trying to remedy in this basin. And so a lot of that is installed within residential neighborhoods. And the companies that indicated inadequate equipment are accustomed to drilling within open areas, groundwater supply wells, large footprints on their drill rigs. and they would not be able to maintain the number of traffic lanes that would be required as the construction ensues. The other reason that we received was that the project size was simply too large, or the schedule was a bit too ambitious. As far as the size of the project, also as Malad has mentioned, we expect to drill up to 22 groundwater wells in the San Fernando Basin because of this study that we're trying to conclude to evaluate fully the contamination that we have to remedy. We also have similar impacts in the South Los Angeles area, where we have a particular well field impacted to a lesser degree than San Fernando. And in the northeast area of the San Fernando Valley called Silmar, we have a well field that's also impacted by contamination, again, to a lesser degree. But with these, we're trying to fully address the problems and recover the use of our groundwater resources in the city. Commissioner Newman.
Thank you. I appreciated the feedback that you outlined in the agenda items, so thank you for that. Since several of the bidders stated that the time frame was too ambitious, what is the time frame? Because that's not stated in the summary.
If I may, Commissioner, respond to your question. We're looking at, with your approvals as well as other permits that would be necessary to address the groundwater contamination within these basins no later than the fiscal year 2020-2021. And moving backward from that time frame, allowing for construction, allowing for design, allowing for permitting process, we needed to have these characterizations completed by the end of this year. So there is quite a bit of extensive permitting process is ahead of us. And in order to start those conversations with the Department of Public Health, with the community, we need to have this information. This information will enable us to make decisions on the treatment technologies that would be needed, the size of the treatment technology, the facilities that needs to be in place, and what are some of the environmental impact that needs to be mitigated. So in order to meet those schedules, we needed to get that information. So and again, with the market research that we had done, we didn't think it wasn't going to be an issue. So we put it all in this process. If time permitted, we would have broken it down to smaller contracts. But this particular one, in order to maintain schedule, we unfortunately were not able to do that, and we have one contract for doing all the 32 wells. But your point is well taken and understood. And unfortunately, in this particular case, we had only one bidder.
Yeah, what is our experience with the awardee?
That's okay. Mr. Reed has more experience, so he could respond.
Yeah, National Inc. was the National Exploration Well and Pump is the low bidder who was identified on this contract, and they've actually worked with us currently under an agreement we have with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We have a project that we're pursuing in the Tujunga area where U.S. EPA was doing certain investigations of the groundwater that's affecting our well field, and they have been working with the Army Corps of Engineers for this study. And so an opportunity presented itself where we could partner with the Army Corps and pursue installation of monitoring wells to further the U.S. EPA's work. And so we provided funds to that end. And they performed excellently in the project to the extent that in some of the public outreach meetings that we've had, neighbors from the project site have actually showed up and voiced their support of the performance of the contractor. So it's really remarkable that that's happened.
Has the department independently verified that they have the capacity to do this job, especially given the timing?
We haven't personally gone to their facility to inspect the available drill rigs, but that will be one of the first things that we do, assuming that the board grants an award here.
The contractor has indicated to us, and they're very big, they're a lot of experience in terms of being able to do that. We do not have a reason to believe that they're unable to perform. This process will require them to bring somewhere between 8 to 10, 11 drilling rigs at the same time, and we believe that they're able to do so. If part of the process we find that they're unable to do that, we will take necessary steps. Under the current performance with Army Corps has shown that they have the expertise and the equipment to to their monitoring wells.
Other questions on item 17? Is there a motion?
There is.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under filed items, questions from commissioners? Either the water system or the power system report? Hearing none, those items are deemed filed. Management reports. Strategic outlook, Ron?
First one will be on our strategic outlook. This is an item that we had on a previous agenda, and we had an extended discussion on several agenda items, and we moved that over. This is a precursor to a more extended and expanded strategic plan. We've talked several times about this over the course of the roughly last year or so, and Beth Gines has been leading this up with a lot of support by all of the senior management team, and we'd like to give you an overview of where we are on this right now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to bring you up to speed where we are on our strategic outlook. You may have, or you have, I'm sure, received copies of this, and I'm going to roughly follow that but use a slightly different format for this report. So based upon the work that's been done by DWP staff over the last few years, we have identified a number of initiatives, challenges, goals, and some changes that we need to make to our culture, and then also some places that we might want to go in the future. This outlook is for activities through 2020, which is what our strategic plan also has. We, if you're following along, next, Steve. You're following along in the this book. There's a number on the page of each slide that indicates which slide in that in this version corresponds to that page. So while we have a number of challenges, we also have a number of opportunities ahead of us. Next. The evolution of DWP and the associated transformation of our culture requires that we evolve to a utility which is prepared to do a number of things. The first of those is to engage in and prepare for the changing climate and the ability to adapt to those changes. We want to increase our renewable energy development. We need to develop more local water supplies. You have set us on the path to eliminate coal-powered energy. And then we also need to provide improved customer service to our ratepayers. This, in addition to the, as part of this transformation, we also need to transform the culture both within DWP and without. Some of the improvements that we need to make include employee skill sets need to be more developed and reflect our transformation. We need more open communication and the use of social media to engage our ratepayers and our customers. And then using a more diverse method of engaging public, employees, as well as the folks in the city. And to also look at developing a stronger LA economy. Now, our mission is to be a leader in delivering reliable water and power to Los Angeles in a customer-focused, efficient, and environmentally responsible manner. Our vision is water for life and power for progress, which is fairly simple, but also reflects our commitment to sustainability and to environmental protection and to innovation. And that vision statement was taken from a vision statement that was used in the 60s here around the opening of the JFB Building and was on postcards that we found in the office. And we felt that it reflects basically our continued commitments and where we are today. Now, our core values are safety, next, integrity, quality, responsibility, teamwork, and flexibility. And I think you can readily understand why we've chosen those. They're often reflected in both our policies and our workplace. We also have a number of drivers of our power transformation. They are, next, one of the main ones is our renewable energy goals. As I've said, and you have acted, we're on our way to eliminate coal power production from our energy sources. We're also on our way to increase our natural gas mix to as much as 42%, and then increase our renewable energies to at least 33%, and drive energy efficiency to at least 10% of our power supplies. And you can see here the transformation over the next several decades. One of the other places where we are focusing is on customer involvement in energy efficiency, and then also in other programs such as our FIT program, and places where customers can actively participate in reducing energy use and in reducing the emissions associated with climate change. We have more than doubled our energy efficiency program for both residential and commercial customers, and we are going to meet or exceed our state efficiency targets. And in the process, we're going to be saving our customers money. In the residential area, we have appliance rebates, refrigerator recycling, weatherization, and in commercial, we have many of those same types of programs, as well as small business direct install and financing, and then the offer of energy audits. Now, although capital and O&M spending is increasing, our rates have remained competitive with the other SoCal utilities. And here you can see how our rates stack up, where the LADWP is the blue one on the left side, and we stack up fairly well with both the actual and the proposed increases in rates from our other comparable rating, our energy utilities, energy and water utilities. And despite the increase in spending, our bond ratings have remained and are projected to remain strong despite the fact that we are increasing our debt in order to pay for more capital projects. Now, the drivers for our water transformation are also very familiar to you. They are our water demand, which is increasing, our need for more local water supply. We have and can expect decreases in an imported water supply. Climate change, which will raise temperatures and require additional water for drinking and watering, as well as cooling. And then also conservation and reliability. The fiscal overview on water supply shows that despite the increased demands, we expect to develop more local water supplies and also have a 30% reduction in the purchase of imported water by 2020. And so here on the chart you can see where the different, how the mixes of water supply change over time. Our long-term water supply challenges are basically that we need to transform our water so that we can meet increases in the requirements for water quality and for security of our water supply, and maintaining and making available a long-term supply. We have challenges also in, as you well know, and you probably talked about recently in the last half hour or so, we have challenges in the Eastern Sierra Nevada watershed with Owens Lake and Owens Valley. We also need to reduce the water that we import from through the San Francisco Bay Area, through the Delta. We are faced with potential decreases in that water supply based upon seismic risks. And then the Colorado River is becoming quite overburdened and cannot be considered still a reliable water supply in the long term. And then also the need to clean up groundwater in the valley so that we can use that water as one of our local water supplies. Now, while spending is also increasing on the water side, our rates here are also below most of the other California water utilities. And again, on this slide, LADWP is the lowest blue column on the left side, and many of our other water utilities are on the other side, the highest being San Francisco, the second highest in San Diego. And as we saw in power, our strong bond ratings are also expected to remain strong despite the increases that we have in debt to pay for our capital projects. So the next century customer and community development is also a challenge for the department, and as well as an opportunity. We are using customer and community service transformation to put the customer first, to help to improve the customer services and the customer experience. We're also working on economic development in many areas of the city, and also emphasizing our commitment to the community through programs that we sponsor, as well as support for community events. So what you're going to see next in the strategic plan is something that looks, it'll be further refinement of our objectives and our focus areas. And those will be refined into initiatives. And some of the, give you a little closer look up of our objectives and focus areas, which have not changed significantly since the last time that I made a presentation on the strategic plan. But it's like high reliability, competitive rates, enhanced customer service, environmental stewardship, and there are many others. What we'll be doing over the next couple of months is we will be taking initiatives which have been developed and refining those and putting costs to those so that when we come back to you for a final approval, what the strategic outlook will be composed of will be the objectives as well as the initiatives that will implement those objectives, and then the costs of those actions. So that's what we'll be working on over the next few months as we also work on the budget. Do you have any questions, comments?
Questions, comments, thoughts? Commissioner Moss?
One thing I didn't really see in the presentation that you gave the board was some sort of statement or context in terms of what we think the department's vision of the city is going to be 20, 30 years out. You know, what are the needs of the city, and how does that relate back to the strategic goals that we're setting for the department as we go into the next century? And I didn't really see any content on that, so I just wanted to ask you, is there, have you developed that kind of content? Have you really, reached out and thought about what the needs of the city are? Or are we just doing this in terms of our own little bubble?
We are looking at, we have on a number of, within a lot of other, like, so for example, climate change and adaptation, we're looking at the needs of the city out and then using that information to inform some of the initiatives in here. The initiatives in here only go through 2020, however. And we've also done similar analyses on power and water supplies, but they are,
like,
those
for example, a specific question. In 2020, what percentage of homes, of residences in the city does the department feel will have solar power and be off the grid? And what does that mean to our customer base?
Well, let me speak to that point. Number one, we have laid out in our integrated resource plan many of our expectations for the amount of solar that we anticipate having. So we haven't incorporated everything that's in the IRP in here just by virtue of level of detail on that. But in that IRP, one of the things I think we referred to in here that we are kind of reflecting that anticipated mix and that anticipated demand. There's kind of a really major question with regard to how much net metered solar, for example, will be required. We've adopted a feed-in tariff, for example, for the primary reasons. We believe that is going to be the primary source and means for having distributed solar within our customers going forward, as opposed to net metered. That doesn't mean that there might not necessarily be legal requirements that might work to the contrary on that. But we've laid out in here in terms of the strategy, it presents what our anticipated future demand is going to be. That demand takes into account our energy efficiency programs, economic activity, our expectations with improved building envelope efficiency, which are really building standards as opposed to things we invest in. Takes into account how much incremental growth there can be within the city, given the level of infill that can happen over a specific period of time, and it takes into account our expectations of what net meter solar might be in there. Now, we have not, through the course of this, one of the things that we took, kind of asked ourselves, do we want to lay out a whole number of different alternatives in a strategic outlook? We have laid out a number of alternatives in our integrated resource plan. We're in the process of evaluating similarly more range of potential future options for water demand and different means of water supply as we look through our local water supply plan and updating our urban water management planning efforts as we go forward. But we have not specifically elected not in the strategic outlook to kind of relook at all of those different options and try to say, well, how might our strategy change depending upon which of those futures. We instead believe that we ought to say there's kind of an adopted base case that we've taken, and let's take a look at our strategic outlook and how we deal with that effective base case as we go forward. If I'm hearing from you that you think that we should be taking a look at where might our vulnerabilities be if we veer away from either the IRP or our urban water management plan or such, I guess that's something that we could take into some consideration. It would be a fair amount additional analysis on our strategy, but that's the type of input in general that we'd be interested in receiving.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with the presentation. Really appreciate the obvious, thoughtfulness that went into it. And it sounds to me, I was going to ask to ensure that we have our projected demands for water and power are very much part of this analysis, and we've taken population into account. I know that the Southern California Association of Governments does a great job on looking at demographic changes and various other sort of projected impacts for the region, and I hope that some of those were embedded in the assumptions that went into this case.
We have just a comment on that as part of effort. We have Michael Cockane and others in our group that put together our forecasts for demand do indeed take into consideration regional demographics and the SCAG analyses and other assumptions that go in there. We don't adopt all of the SCAG items, for example, en masse, but we do indeed review some of those as well as those that are done at the state level, the California Energy Commission, and some that we develop ourselves.
Great.
So anything else on that presentation? We have one more on water conservation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Pettyjohn and Penny Falcon will be doing this presentation. And Mr. Gentile, apparently.
Good afternoon, President, Sales, Commissioners. I'm David Pettyjohn, the Director of Water Resources, and with me today is Penny Falcon. She's our Manager of Water Conservation. I'm going to speak to you today about the current status of our water conservation program and our dry winter conditions. In response to the current snowpack situation, we'd like to highlight the major winter water conservation accomplishments and suggest some focused conservation initiatives to launch during the next few months. I'd also like to touch on our upcoming water conservation potential study and our local water supply program. This slide shows our historic runoff trends. The red bars depict above normal, and the blue bars are below normal runoff. I'm sorry, that's opposite. The blue bars are above, and the red bars are below normal runoff. And at the state level, California ended February with the state setting a new record for the driest January-February period in recorded history, dating back 90 years. And weather in March was also relatively dry. As a result of our dry winter, on March 22nd, the California Department of Water Resources decreased this year's water delivery of the State Water Project down from 40% of contracted amounts down to 35% of contracted amounts. Now, locally, we've had a wet December, but a dry January, February, and March. And similar to the state conditions, the Eastern Sierra snowpack that provides for the LA aqueduct water is currently estimated at 55% of normal for the coming runoff year. Now, we're still gathering data, and that may be impacted with our final runoff numbers. So the runoff projection that you see here to the far right may be a little bit optimistic. This graph shows our Mammoth Pass snowpack based on a snow survey that was conducted last week. And the red line shows the current year. The middle dash line shows the long-term mean. And as you can see, we're below normal for the Mammoth Pass snowpack. Now, what does this mean to LA DWP? If you look at our demand and supply mix, it looks like our local supply plus our demand means that we're going to be buying over 70% of our water from the Metropolitan Water District in the coming year. Next slide. LA DWP has always had a conservation ethic, beginning with the city of LA becoming fully metered in the early 1900s. We began implementing our water conservation program in earnest in 1977, distributing over 2 million toilet retrofit kits. In 1991, we were an original signatory of the California Urban Water Conservation Council's Best Management Practices MOU, and we've been implementing those BMPs ever since. Overall, we've spent about $250 million on water conservation just since 1990. And this has resulted in a cumulative water savings of, just due to our hardware installation, totaling over 100,000 acre-feet a year. So what has all this effort gotten us? This graph shows the long-term effect over the last 40 years of our early conservation programs. And as you can see, we've kept our water demand relatively flat despite an increase in the population in the city of Los Angeles of over 1 million residents. This graph shows how we compare to other cities, major cities in the United States. I'm sorry, that's the next slide. This graph shows how our GPCD has come down since the mayor's call for extraordinary conservation in June 2007. During this period, LA DWP customers have saved an additional 13,000 acre-feet per year of water from participation in our rebate and incentive programs. The annual amount of water Angelinos are saving can supply the water needs of over 200,000 single-family households, and that's equivalent to a city the size of Long Beach, California. Now, this graph is the graph that shows how we compare to other large cities in the United States, all of which, these are all the cities in the U.S. that have over 1 million residents. And as you can see, we've achieved the lowest water use of any of them with our gallons per capita per day use at 123. Our low gallon per capita per day use is a result of our numerous water conservation programs, and on this slide you'll see a listing of all those programs. Overall, our conservation programs have historically focused on indoor efficiency. However, in recent years, we've been expanding our outdoor efficiency programs, and I'm going to briefly discuss these programs you see on this slide with you.
So you skipped over a chart where you compare us to other cities. Is it not in your?
I'm sorry, President Sales, why don't you back up one?
That's a real difference, isn't it?
That's big. Dallas.
Speaking for Dallas or Phoenix, Chicago?
It's wet in Dallas.
No, it's a huge accomplishment for us. We're very proud of this.
Well, a lot of that water in Dallas is just humidity.
Okay. Our local city ordinances, we've developed local ordinances to support water use efficiency since 1977. And our first ordinance was adopted, was the Energy Emergency Water Conservation Plan, and we adopted that in 1977. And your board most recently amended that in 2010, restricting outdoor irrigation to 3 days a week. Our most recent ordinance, the Water Efficiency Plumbing Requirements Ordinance, was approved in 2009 and requires efficient water fixtures on new developments and redevelopment projects. Our commercial rebate program offers rebates for various water-efficient plumbing fixtures, food service equipment, and landscape devices. Our technical assistance program offers commercial customers financial incentives for custom water conservation business retrofits. The California Friendly Landscape Incentive Program provides incentives for commercial customers to landscape using California-friendly plants and artificial turf. And our most recent commercial program is a partnership with the Southern California Gas Company to directly install water, energy, and gas efficiency devices in commercial businesses. And we developed this program working closely with the Energy Efficiency Group headed by David Jacob. The Residential Conservation Rebate Program offers rebates for residential single-family homes and includes rebates for things like water-efficient washing machines, toilets, and landscape equipment. The Residential California Friendly Landscape Incentive Program provides incentives for replacing lawns with California-friendly landscape or artificial turf. And we continue to provide free faucet aerators and shower heads for all of our residential customers in the city. And similar to our commercial program, we have a direct install partnership with the Southern California Gas Company for the Home Efficiency Improvement Program. We have a robust public outreach and education program to raise awareness of the importance and benefits of water use efficiency. And our program includes partnerships with LAUSD, the Metropolitan Water District, and the LA Times. Our LAUSD programs include live theater performances entitled Thirsty City, and those target K through 6th grade. What you see in the lower left of this slide is the recent grand prize winner of our annual poster contest, and that winner came from El Camino Real High School. In an effort to lead by example with practicing indoor and outdoor efficiency, LADWP has been conducting audits and retrofits at city-owned facilities. For example, high-use city facilities such as City Hall and Pershing Square have already been retrofitted with water-efficient plumbing fixtures. Additionally, we've provided funding to the Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks for the retrofit of 23 parks with California-friendly landscape and irrigation efficient equipment. Our partnership with the Metropolitan Water District is key to our program's success. Metropolitan administers regional, residential, and commercial rebate programs on behalf of all its member agencies, including LADWP, and provides funding for a base incentive amount. LADWP markets the program to our customers and provides funding in addition to MET's base incentives for the water-efficient devices. So how is LADWP responding to the dry weather conditions this year? We're going to do several things. We're going to ramp up our media campaign to remind customers about the importance of continuing to comply with the city's emergency water conservation ordinance and its outdoor irrigation schedule. For our residential customers, we plan to vigorously promote our California-friendly landscape incentive program, with a key component including the incentive increase just yesterday, which increased incentives from $1.50 to $2 per square foot for turf removal. On March 20th, we modified our technical assistance program guidelines to allow more participation, especially for smaller businesses. And we have also recently improved our commercial landscape program to include synthetic turf and streamline the rebate payments. Over the next year, a comprehensive water conservation potential study will be completed that will assess LADWP's current hardware conservation saturation levels and determine remaining water efficiency and conservation potential for the various customer classes. And we plan to release an RFP by this summer and complete this analysis by the fall of next year. This slide shows the current goals of water conservation program as outlined in our 2010 Urban Water Management Plan, which was adopted by your board. Historically, we've achieved approximately 100,000 acre-feet of water conservation, and we have a goal of an additional 64,000 acre-feet per year of conservation. In October of last year, you passed some guiding principles which call for us to expand on the local water supply goals as outlined in our 2010 Urban Water Management Plan. Water conservation is going to be a key component to that local water supply plan, and we're currently conducting stakeholder meetings to outreach and solicit input on our local water reliability 2025 program. We anticipate providing your board with an update on this program later this year. This concludes the presentation, and we'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
Questions or comments?
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's great to hear that the incentive on turf replacement has been increased to $2. And how are we going to get the word out to our customers that this incentive is in place?
Well, we recently just sent an email blast updating, and that should be going out this week to all the customers that have signed up for our email list. We're also working through Metropolitan, and we're going to have classes that are going to be scheduled in the next few months that will promote with our public affairs office and get our customers into those classes to learn how to do the project. We also, this weekend, we sponsored with the Theater Pain for the Native Garden Tour, and we've reached out to a lot of our customers to distribute tickets that we received for that. And other than just the normal public outreach and education, we're working with Public Affairs Office on how we really want to launch a huge campaign on this. And we're making sure we have internally the support system that we need to help guide the customers. The biggest thing on these type of outdoor projects with outdoor landscaping is the fear of the customer that, am I going to do this wrong? You know, it's a big undertaking to tear out your front lawn. So we want to make sure we have all the support necessary. And Mark's team has been coming up to speed on that and has been doing a great job since we launched the program in 2009.
It's such a great idea, and I think that there could be a way that you take advantage of some of the customers posting their before and after photos. And if you get literally dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of households showing this, it has a kind of, it sets a social norm that this is acceptable way of having a lawn in Los Angeles. And I'd recommend working with Joe Ramala's staff on creating this. And also, this is the 100-year anniversary of our LA Aqueduct. And so I believe there's going to be a lot of attention being paid to the anniversary. And I think that it's a natural to show how LA is looking to its next 100 years by promoting some of these great conservation efforts. So I hope you look into that. And President Sales pointed out how many, gallons per day we use in Los Angeles versus that of other cities. And just anecdotally, though, could you tell me where Long Beach is? How many gallons per day they use?
And San Francisco.
Well, I know you want to go after San Francisco, but I want to bring up Long Beach.
Well, San Francisco, I think, is on the slide, but no, it's not actually. But San Francisco is actually fairly low, and Long Beach, I think, was about 100. Is that right, Jim?
I think Long
120.
Long Beach is usually between 115 and 120. They're a little bit below us, and San Francisco, usually, last time I checked, they're running lower than 100.
All right. So even though we look good on this chart, we selected some of these cities. So next time you do this chart, I think it's, in all fairness, it's good to put some of the other ones so we have some stretch goals for ourselves.
Yeah, that's
but I would note that San Francisco gets a tad bit more water than we do that comes from the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And very small lots.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of lawns in San Francisco.
We understand.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
I did listen. I love you guys. But still, it's in
I
fairness.
did want to point out, though, that we did not cherry pick the list. This is the full list of all cities over 1 million people.
That's right. Yeah, that was the metric we were.
Now, when in looking at water conservation, how do you put into context the water use that up in Owens Valley that come out of our LA Aqueduct? How does that factor into it?
Well, you mean conservation in the Owens Valley and efforts up there? That's actually not part of this number. So,
do we have conservation efforts going on up there?
Well, we finally metered it, but as far as like a real active water conservation program in the Owens Valley,
I mean, most of what the extensive use of water up there is for irrigation use, and so we have been working with our irrigators to make sure that we're efficient. I know Jim Yanada, just this last year, just by going up there and being more diligent about keeping track of how much water is being used on the leases and controlling water use and preventing illegal diversions, estimates that he was able to conserve about 17,000 acre-feet through the better controls up there. So yeah, we're paying attention to it. And he believes there's more to be had this coming year. So we're going to be adding some staff to go after that.
Do we have any estimate on how much water we're saving, and now that we've incorporated creative measures like using gravel in certain areas in the phase work that we're responsible for in Owens Valley?
You mean on gravel, like on the Owens Lake? Currently, everything that we have up there's been kind of just planned into what the phases that we've done. So there's at this point, we don't have any reduction. But one of the things to point out is that we're pretty much maxed out right now. We've got 2 outtakes going onto the lake that have to run at full bore in order to fill the lake by dust season. So there's really no more water to be had. We're hoping that through the efforts of the master plan or the master project, that we'll be briefing the board on at a future meeting, we can create some high-quality habitat. We can improve the situation out there, put more waterless dust control methods, and reduce the water in half on the lake. So we're looking at in excess of 45,000 acre feet to be available if we can fully implement that.
So the numbers we have here include the dust mitigation efforts at the lake?
No, these are at the retail. These are all at the retail level.
That's correct.
Right, once it hits our distribution system.
Right.
And so the where that really comes in is to the extent that we have more water available that we can export through the aqueduct system, then we decrease our Metropolitan Water District purchases. So that's kind of where that. But that also helps our customers out in their bills because the Metropolitan Water District water on the margin is the more expensive source. So.
But since our customers pay for the water that's being used at Owens Lake, right?
Correct.
So
Well, they pay for the replacement water that we have to buy to replace the water that doesn't come down because it goes on to Owens Lake. The water gets used on Owens Lake is our aqueduct snow melt that never gets to Los Angeles.
So my point is, if you had taken into consideration that amount of water, would these numbers have changed?
Yeah, I'm just not used to thinking of it. I'm thinking of that as the supply rather than a consumptive use. But the water we would still be bringing the water into the city, but from a different source.
So the numbers don't change?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not from that
Now,
perspective.
of the 70% of the MWD water we're going to be buying this year, what does that say, what we're projecting this year versus last year? How much additional water expense for our water purchases is that going to be?
I'm thinking it's about 100,000 acre feet more than what we bought last year, something around that amount.
And what was an acre foot go for these days?
It's about $600 for untreated, and it's about $850 for acre foot of treated water. So if you're talking 100,000 times 600 or 850, it's a lot of money.
So we think we're looking at probably around 400,000 acre feet this year, and it was 300,000 acre feet last year, so about a 33% increase over what it was last year.
So it's going to be an expensive water year in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Other questions?
Yeah, and Jim, what do you do next year? So let's say we have a dry year. Are we going to go back to the city council and say that right now we're doing outdoor watering at 3 days a week? Do we increase enforcement related to those outdoor watering activities? Do we try to reduce that down to 2 days a week? I remember this being a slightly controversial item a few years ago, but it's something that we may need to revisit if this weather continues.
Yeah, and right now the way the ordinance is written, because the adjustment that we did, we kind of collapsed 2 phases of the ordinance into one. So we used to have one for like 1 day a week, 2 day a week, 3 day a week. And we kind of took the 2 and the 3 and mushed them together into one phase. So the way and we can always propose a change to the ordinance, but the way the ordinance is written right now, if you went to the next phase, it gets pretty draconian. You go down to 1 day a week of watering. It's illegal to fill swimming pools. It's illegal to wash cars. So that's a pretty drastic emergency. So what we're proposing right now is to just more heavily promote the ordinance that we have. We've been talking with David about putting more resources on the enforcement end of it to drive home and eliminate and greatly reduce water waste and kind of go after those angles of it. So we think that there's probably the next phase would be just a stronger enforcement of what we have on the books. But as conditions merit, we can propose changes to the ordinance if we need to.
I know this is anecdotal, but the one thing I used to see all the time was water just running down the streets with people's sprinklers. You just really don't see that very often anymore. So.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing this 20% reduction in conservation is people really did start paying more attention to outdoor water use.
Other questions? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Any questions on the RPS projects update? Okay, that's steam filed. We're ready for closed session. Mr.
Yes,
Brown?
sir. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with Section 54, 957.1 of the California Government Code.
We're gonna be-
Okay, let's take about, you're here, let's take about a 5-minute break.